Hello and welcome everyone. Today's session is the second part of How To series. We started with how to teach vocabulary, and this is the second lesson, which is how to teach grammar. Okay, here we have the table of content. We'll start talking about the general overview, and then we will move to what's the meaning of grammar. Then the different methods and approaches. We have something called teaching methods and teaching approaches. And then we will focus on the teaching framework that all teachers can use in order to explain grammar. And then we will talk about the MPF or MFP. We will know what's the meaning of MPF or MFP. Okay, so this is what we are going to be talking about today, okay? Now let's start. Here, as I said in the previous lecture, I said that we are talking about in teaching in general, we are teaching two things. We are teaching language system and language skills. In language system, we are focusing on grammar and vocabulary. Last time we tackled vocabulary, and today we're going to talk about grammar. So grammar actually is part of a language system. And when we talk about language skills, we're talking about four skills. Two are receptive and two are productive. Receptives are listening and reading, while the productive are speaking and writing. So this is what the meaning of teaching English in general. Okay, so language system and language skills. So talking about grammar is part of talking about the language system. Okay, this is just a general overview about what does the word teaching English mean. And now let's move and jump into our lecture. But before this, we have someone who needs help. We have one of our teachers, our colleagues, fellow teachers who needs help. So are you ready to offer help or to help him at the end of this part? Are you ready for that, guys? Great. Now let's see. Okay, this is the teacher and this is the problem, okay? The problem is I explained present simple to my grade 7 students. When they were given a controlled practice, they could answer all the questions correctly. However, when I asked them to write a paragraph describing their daily routines, it was full of mistakes in the target language. So the students actually could answer all the questions in the practice about present simple correctly. But when it comes to writing, the form or the structure of the present simple was totally wrong. The teacher here actually is struggling and he doesn't know the reason why does this happen. Now I will give you 1 minute to think about the reason why those students were capable of actually answering the questions right in the control practice and they failed to write good paragraph with good present simple structure. I will give you 1 minute to think, okay? He taught them in the form of the form in isolation, okay? Okay, Miss Minna, my question is, could you please help this teacher why his students could answer the practice correctly while they couldn't write the paragraph right? They didn't use the present simple in a correct way while they were writing the paragraph. Okay, Mr. Muhammad, yes, maybe this you're right here. Let's wait for others. The formal and traditional grammar teaching. Excellent, Mr. Sharawi. We will come to talk about this. He didn't teach them grammar rules without context. Okay. Not authentic context. Great. Only Mr. Wakil and Mr. Sharawi? We need others. What about the teachers? Other teachers? What do you think? What is the problem here? Why some students could answer the practice correctly while They couldn't write sentences using the same target language, the same rule in a correct way. Okay, so here to answer this question, okay, maybe he teach them the rule only without practice. Okay, maybe real situations. Great. Okay, now here we need to know that we have a great gap as teacher and as students. We have a great gap between the theory and practice. Okay, we actually teach our students to answer questions. We are not teaching our students to learn the language, to acquire the language. Okay, so the whole mission or the whole target for students is to answer the questions correctly, whether in the quiz, in the exam, whatever. But did we ask ourselves the question whether our students could acquire the language or not? No. Did you ask yourself the question that whether you gave your students the production time, enough production time? Did you give them this opportunity to express language naturally and smoothly, automatically? If the answer is yes, I think you will not have this problem. If the answer is no, you will face the same problem, because this teacher actually was focusing on the structure and the form of the grammar rule. He didn't focus on how he will give his students the chance to practice or show the ability of using the grammar rule naturally. So actually this leads us to the definition of grammar. So what do you think the word grammar mean? What does this word mean? Grammar. What is grammar? If anyone want to share his ideas with me, just raise your hand, okay? Okay, Mr. Mahmoud Higazi, I will unmute you. Okay, Mr. Mahmoud.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم
كل عام
السلام
وانتم
ورحمة
بخير.
الله. انت بألف خير يا رب.
معلش أنا آسف، أنا مدرس رياضيات أصلا مش مدرس إنجليزي.
تحت أمرك في أي وقت.
ممكن الله يخليك يا حبيبي، تسلم. ممكن أتكلم عربي ولا لازم إنجليش؟
مفيش مشاكل.
الجرامر اللي هو زي قواعد النحو في العربي.
بالظبط. ده هي احنا بقى هنتكلم عن التعريف الجرامر، عشان ده هيبقى تركيزنا على ازاي المدرسين او معظم المعلمين بيفكروا في الجرامر بطريقه مش دقيقه، وعلى هذا الاساس الطلبه بتتعلم الجرامر بشكل ما يخليهمش يقدروا يستخدموا اللانجوج بشكل فعال.
نعم نعم.
شكرا جدا يا مستر محمود، ربنا يخليك.
شكرا.
Okay, so here we have rules to help us talk correctly. Okay, so grammar is rules. We're talking about rules. What else? So do you think that this is grammar? Only rules? Let's see the definition here and you decide what is your opinion. Okay, it says here, it's a description of the rules that govern how a language sentences are formed. Okay, so here we're talking about the rules and the formation of language sentences. Okay, Mr. Fauzi, the building of the language. Okay, now do you accept this definition? Do you agree with this definition? Or do you have any other suggestions? The rules that govern language sentences, how language sentences are formed. Are you okay with this? Why? Okay, why, Mr. Sharawa? Do you want to share this with us? I can unmute you. Okay, immediately now, at once. Go ahead, Mr. Shahab.
Yes, Mr. Stam, thank you very much for giving me such a striking and good opportunity to be among you again.
My pleasure.
And I want to greet all your attendees today. Concerning grammar, if we say that grammar is something related to rules, this means that we created rules first, then we spoke the language, and this languages were not created like this
Mhm.
way. But we can say that grammar is a scientific study or study of language system, okay, that involve or compromised of semantics, syntax, phonology, word formation, and so blah blah blah. So we
Excellent.
cannot, okay, limit or restrict grammar to rules. If we say that, this means that language we created first, we made first rules, then we speak the language. Absolutely. And if there are some rules, we can find a lot of people. I mean here particularly native speakers who can speak English fluently or French or whatever. The first mother tongue is French, German, whatever, and they are unaware of the rules, right? So we
Yeah.
cannot restrict or limit or confine, the definition. But some people, want to make it easy to non-native like us, okay, or teachers or students. There are some rules. So we can say that's the language system, okay, and that's why you were very lucky and that you start with language system, first
Yeah.
thing we talk about. So when we talk about grammar, we talk about syntax, semantics, and that's why we can find some sentences, okay, which are these things are grammatically correct, but semantically nonsensical, right?
Great. Actually,
That's the
you hit
one
the
that
nail
show
here.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that you were about to trap us, you play tricks on us about this definition. So thank you very much, Mr. Stan, for this chance.
Thank you
And
very much.
my regards to all your attendees, particularly Mr. Wakil.
Thank you very
Okay?
much, Mr. Sharaf.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Stan. Thank you very much.
So yeah, I can't agree more with Mr. Sharawi because it's not just a matter of rules. It includes many things. So actually, if you thought that the definition of grammar is just confined with rules, you're gonna be struggling with the following slide here. We have this sentence here, okay? Colorless green ideas sleep furiously. Actually, I shared this slide in the group and asked you in order to give me your suggestions and thoughts about what do you think about this sentence. What's wrong with this? You need to read it twice in order to get the point. What's wrong with this? Colorless green ideas sleep furiously. Okay, Mr. Abdul Wakil? Yes?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you, Mr. Islam? How's everybody?
Great, thank you very much.
I hope you are safe and well, and happy Eid for all of you. For this sentence, as we can all see, it's grammatically correct, but it has no meaning. It's senseless. This is what we can say, or I cannot add anything more than Mr. Sharawi said and you, Mr. Islam, said. Grammar is not only forms, it's not only rules. Grammar include form and meaning, or what we call usage. So this sentence, it's correct. It has a subject, it has a verb, it has a complete meaning or a complete thought, but it doesn't give a meaning. It doesn't give a complete meaning. It doesn't give a complete thought, although its form is grammatically perfect, but
Yeah,
it has no correct meaning. This is what we. This is shed lights on the main idea that you want to explain, Mr. Islam, that grammar is not only grammatical rules or grammatical structures that we all teach to students only. This is what I meant by teaching grammar in isolation of context, in isolation of usage, in isolation
yeah.
of authentic life situations. That's all, Mr. Islam.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad. Yeah, actually, here we have this sentence which is syntactically correct. The structure is fine. There is no problem with the structure here, but we have a great issue with semantic. So semantically, it's actually meaningless. Okay, actually, ideas do not have colors. And here he said colorless green. He gave the color for something which is not, which colorless. And the verb sleep cannot be actually described as furious. So here the meaning is nonsense, doesn't make any sense. While although we have here the rule is great, we have no problem with the rule. Okay. Okay. Now, so here, just to sum up, we grammar is not just a matter of rules. Okay, we have something else. We have meaning. We have the form. So we have to pay attention to. Okay, here we have different methods of teaching. I'm gonna just talk about two main methods. Do you have any idea about the teaching methods, the different teaching methods? Give you just 30 seconds to brainstorm. What are the different teaching methods? Okay, TTT, PPP, actually this is, you know, the approach or a framework to be used. Yes, Ms. Manar, grammar translation method, audiolingual, great, deductive, communicative approach. Yeah, this is great. So this is the answer. Yeah, I'm gonna just talk about two, which are here, grammar translation method, which is known as GTM, and communicative language teaching method. Okay. Now let's start with grammar translation method. Here, actually, it's based on teaching grammar in the learner's first language. I think most of us, if not all of us, were exposed to such method when we were young. Where in our governmental schools, the teacher was, you know, explaining the grammar rule in Arabic, in our first language. Okay, he didn't teach us in English. So this is one element of grammar translation method, to teach the target language in the mother tongue of the student, okay? To translate the rule in the mother tongue of the student. Try as much as they can to find some kind of equivalence between the mother tongue and the target language. So this is number one for grammar translation method. Number two, it's focused on the form, not the content. Can you remember when we were young, did we study the grammar rule in context? Or does just the teachers gave us some isolated examples on the board and they started to tackle the rule? This is the point, to just focus on the form, this sentence, to just, you know, isolate the grammar rule from the whole context. You lost something very important, which is called contextualization. Students need to find context for the grammar rule, okay? So here, this method is not actually focusing on the content, it's focusing on the form, the structure of the rule. So in terms of isolated sentences. Number three, it focuses on reading and writing less than speaking and listening. So here, reading and writing, this is what? Here, reading, to read the rule, and to write the simple sentences that the teacher actually have been or has been giving to you. That's it. You're not gonna talk, you're not gonna speak, you're not gonna express yourself freely using the target language. No, we will not have this chance. Okay, so basically this grammar translation method, this method is teacher-centered. Here, the teacher is the source of all information. He is the dominant, and teacher and students are spoon-fed with information. That's it. So do you think here, this is gonna be, you know, students will be able to acquire the language in using such method? Is it gonna be so effective for students here when the teacher is doing the whole job? Yes, no, they will not be able to learn or acquire anything, okay? I'm gonna ask you a question and you write the answer. Here, the teacher main focus is on fluency or accuracy. The main concern for teacher here is fluency or accuracy. Yeah, accuracy. Because he wanted to make sure that when the students are given a task, a quiz, an exam, whatever, they should answer correctly. This is the main goal. This is the target. So here he is focusing on accuracy. He's not focusing on how students will use the language fluently, automatically. This is not the point here. The point is to answer the questions. So actually this refers us back to the teacher in the first slide. Do you remember him? When his students could correctly answer all the questions in the quiz, but they struggled with writing paragraphs using the present simple correctly. So here, do you think the teacher was using grammar translation method or another method? What do you think? Yeah, most probably was using the grammar translation method, or at least we will not say he used Arabic, but at least his class was more teacher-centered than student-centered, okay? Now let's move to the second method. So this is the grammar translation method. Now let's move to communicative language teaching method. Here, I intended not to write it, to write the whole sentence, and I want you to read the 4 points here, the 4 sentences here. I'll give you 1 minute to think and fill in the gaps here. What do you think the answer is gonna be? Okay, I will give you 1 minute to think and then we will share together. This approach or this method is totally different from the grammar translation method. It's, you know, the opposite, the total opposite. Okay, now let's see number 1 here. What do you think teaching grammar here in this approach or this method is focusing on what? It's based on what? Teaching grammar in the first language or the second language? Excellent, the target language or the second language. So let's see here in the second language, in English. Okay, and number 2, it focused on what in terms of what? It focused on what in terms of what? In the first one, we focused on the rule and we forgot the content. And it was in terms of isolated sentences. What do you think here we were gonna be focusing on? Okay, context. So we will focus on something in terms of context. This is the meaning of contextualization, but here, focused on what? Okay, nope, not fluency. Rule, only the rule? We said that actually grammar is not just rules. So we can just say, guys, content. The whole content of the grammar rule, not just the structure. No, we will talk about the meaning, the form, the pronunciation, the whole thing in terms of context, because the students will get exposed to a context, whether this context is read or heard, whether it was just a reading comprehension or an audio track. This is the meaning of context here. Okay, it focuses more on and. Excellent. Yeah, it focuses on speaking and also writing, guys. Why? Speaking and writing, these are what? Both of them are productive skills. And this should be, you know, the main focus of any teacher. This is the main focus of any teacher, that he should give some time, enough time for students to express the output. Excellent. The productive skills, the output, to give them, the students, the chance, the freedom to express themselves, to use the target language, and he should, you know, give them feedback. So students will not learn when the teacher is giving them only the whole information. No, they need to learn through trial and error, you know, trial and error, to make mistakes. And through these mistakes and the teacher's feedback, they will learn, but they have to produce their own outcome. Excellent. To produce their own outcome. Okay, it's what style of teaching? It's more what now? It was in the beginning, grammar translation, it was teacher-centered. So this is gonna be what? Yeah, so this is gonna be what? This is gonna be student-centered. Okay, actually Zoom now is telling me that we have less than 10 minutes. So if we are interrupted, I'm gonna, you know, open the room again, okay? Okay, now here, let's see here, different approaches. We have two main approaches in teaching grammar. We have the deductive approach and inductive approach. Deductive and inductive. Okay, do you have any idea about the meaning of deductive and inductive? To teach grammar deductively and to teach grammar inductively. Which is better, you think? Which is more, in order to be more specific, which is more student-centered? The deductive or the inductive approach? Which is more student-centered? Yeah, inductive. Excellent. Excellent. Here, actually, Scott Thornbury, in his book, How to Teach Grammar, is giving us a very excellent example about the difference between deductive and inductive. He's telling you here that deductive learning might be that on arriving on a country you have never been to before, you are told that a rule, people rub noses when greeting one another. And so you do exactly, because here someone told you and you are doing the same thing. This is the deductive way, when the teacher tells you the rule and that students act depending on what the teacher have told them. In the second example about inductive approach, which is on arriving in the same country, you observe, we have to notice this, you observe several instances of people rubbing noses on meeting, so you conclude. So here, it's a matter of observation and conclusion at the end. So the students are doing the whole job. This is the meaning of inductive. They weren't told about the rule, but they could observe and come up with the rule themselves. So this was, you know, a great example to differentiate and show the discrepancy between the deductive and inductive approaches. It was great. Okay, let's here see the deductive approach. It can be also known as rule-driven approach, where teachers provide the rule, then the examples. So here, the starting point is from the teacher, and the teacher is giving the whole information, everything to the students in a form of the rule-driven way. It's more traditional and teacher-centered. So this is, do you think this approach is related to which method, the GTM or CLT? This approach is more what? grammar translation methods or communicative? Yeah, excellent. It's more grammar translation method because here the teacher is doing the whole job. Excellent. Okay, let's see that the inductive. It can also be known as guided discoveries. I think some teachers are familiar with this term, guided discovery. Actually, guided discovery is the same thing as inductive approach. They are, you know, two faces for the same coin. Students actually here are supposed to be finding and observing the grammatical components on their own. Then the teacher will present the rule. This will happen under the guidance of the teacher. So the teacher here is just a facilitator or a guide. He's not doing the whole job. Students are doing the whole job. So this is the difference, main difference between the inductive approach and the deductive approach. Now I have a question for you. In teaching grammar in your own classes, which approach are you using the most? Are you using inductive approach or deductive approach the most? Both? Inductive? Okay. Inductive? Great. So this is actually the point, guys, to try as much as they can to make it more student-centered. I use the deductive more. Okay, we will see how to use inductive approach. I'm gonna apply this, but if we ran out of time, guys, again, I'm repeating, I'm gonna restart the session again, okay? So please just focus on the group because I might send something on the group, okay? Okay, now let's see here the presentation of grammar. This is actually how we try as much as we can to present grammar in this way. Students encounter the target grammar item in context. So this is the most important thing, which is as a teacher to try as much as you can to provide context. This is the idea of contextualization of the rule. This is versus what? This is versus isolation. So we don't need any more isolated grammar sentences. Students should get exposed to the target language through a context. The teachers use various techniques to help students notice or observe the most important features of that item. Students are actively engaged, and here we mean by actively engaged like group and pair work. This is how you successfully will get your students actively engaged. Explanation given by the teacher are brief and memorable. So here, TTT, you know TTT, teacher talking time, teacher talking time is controlled. The teacher now is controlling his talking time. He's not talking all the time. No, actually talking all the time, this will get your students bored so quickly, right? QTT, what do you mean, Mr. Sharab, by QTT? Quality teacher talking, okay. So actually the teacher should be aware. Yeah, actually this is the awareness of teachers, how they manage to control their teacher talking time. Okay, now here I want you to watch this video. I'm going to stop share this and I will share what exactly. Okay, I will share this. I hope you can see it. Okay. If there is no sound, please tell me. Actually, what you're gonna be watching now is a sample of teaching grammar. It's a sample of teaching grammar, but I think we will not have time. But now let's play it in all cases. So we'll see what the teacher is going to do with a grammar rule. We need to focus on what she's going to be doing. Okay. Sound is bad, isn't clear. Yeah. Okay. You can now, I'm gonna give you the link here. Okay. So this is the link. Okay. You can watch this video. Now I'm gonna give you time to watch this video and then we will discuss it together. Okay. 1 minute to think of. Okay, watch the video and we will join the session again. Okay. We have less than 1 minute.